I think I have my audio situation taken care of now. This is my Golf Out Loud YouTube channel. It's formerly 26 Golf. You may have heard of, you may not. But my goal for this YouTube channel is to be to the point, letting you guys really understand what actually goes on in a pre-shot routine, or as good golfers are approaching the ball. Because the thing is, if you don't understand the basic mechanics of a golf swing. Now, what do I mean by mechanics? Mechanics aren't swing thoughts. Mechanics are understanding what your positions and feels are. Okay, that's a big difference. It's a big difference between stepping up and just swinging your swing, stepping up and just, taking the club back, just going to top the backswing, or stepping up and just saying, well, I'm just going to go to the top. Because I think a lot of instructors are beginning to understand that the most important part of the swing is not the downswing. It's not shallowing the club. It's not trying to rotate the hips too quick. It's not trying to get to the left side and all that kind of stuff. Because if you don't get to the top of the backswing properly, then getting to the left side is almost impossible. And so a mechanic of that would be how does the swing arc work with the length of the shaft? And what can I do at setup to have pressure points where they need to be, so my pressure points will work with me? When you have the right pressure points, it makes the golf swing a lot easier. Now, it doesn't sound like it's a huge, deal, tip, trick, a secret, fix, a magic move and all that kind of stuff. It's just basically the fundamental setup to how we get the weight of the club to help us move around the swing plane. And what it does is it takes out a lot of the trickery in the golf swing. It takes out a lot of the tips and the secrets and things, because, if a golfer, and I know what the mindset of a shortcut is. If I can get to a shortcut, if I can get to, something that's gonna prevent me from practicing, or if I could just get that tip and just run to the course and shoot, 76, then you'd be happy. But the sad thing about it is, when you've got a 2-second swing and you've got 6 club and 6 body positions to move through, see, you can't do that with a tip. You can't do that with a trick. You see, you got to understand the mechanic of how it works. And once you kick off the mechanic, then you can do what? Then you can get to your swing. Then you can get to what you know, or what you've been taught, or what you think the swing is. So on this platform, on YouTube, you've got long form content, you have short form content. And I know the short form content is viewed by more than long form content, but guys, you got to understand, you're trying to learn a swing that takes 2 seconds, that involves 6 club and 6 body positions, with an instrument called the golf club that has like 14 different technologies. Where are you going to find a tip or a trick in what I just described? But what you can find the correct mechanics to help you to get where you want to go. I mean, you've heard the old saying, you throw somebody a fish, they eat for a day. But you teach them how to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. And that's the same thing with golf. You throw somebody a tip or trick, they may swing for the day. And that's using that loosely. But if you take that tip or trick and apply it to them being able to go get it when they lose it, because maybe they didn't even have it anyway. Then you're teaching golfers how to golf for a lifetime. And so I don't know whether the golf industry even wants that anymore. I mean, we've been filled so much with tips and tricks for so long, we don't know which way to go. I mean, me personally, I was on and off YouTube for 15 years. 15 years, I was trying to find that tip or trick, secret fix, magic, eureka moment, however they wanted to describe it for that season. And I couldn't find it. I just couldn't. I mean, it was a situation to where it was just elusive, because there was no connection with the tip. You know, the tip may have been, you know, go to the top of the backswing and get your wrist in place, or whatever the case was. But see, they neglected to tell me how to get to the top of the backswing. See, how to get to the top of the backswing should be what? It should be always reviewed on every video. Because see, that's how the tour pros practice. Now, you know, you always hear, you know, swing like Rory, swing like Tiger, swing like Adam. But the point is, we want to swing with them. We can't swing like them. You know, just like they can't swing like us. We all have unique swings, but we have to identify what is similar in all of our body types. Okay, some of us are short, some of us are tall, some of us are more round in the middle, some of us are this, some of us are that. But there's one anatomy feature that we all have that we can't avoid. I don't care how tall you are, how big you are, how little you are. And we cannot avoid the fact that the shoulders are wider than our hips. Okay. And so since that's the case, mechanically, we have to understand, how do we align the shoulders and the hips as we come off the ball? What's the feel? Because we just can't take the club top of the backswing. We just can't, let's say, go to the top and just do our own thing, because then what we'll be doing is we'll be like violating the width of the shoulders with the width of the hips. You know, one of the main drills is to put a club across your shoulder and do this move. You know, but what happens is when we do this move, this lead shoulder dips too quick, and so now you have wide shoulders dipping into narrow hips. That spells disaster in terms of getting stuck. So we have to understand the mechanic. Well, how do we square the shoulders and the hips before we start lifting the club on the transition up? And if we can square the shoulders with the hips before we start lifting our arms, we'll also do what? We'll also clear our right elbow past our right hip before we lift up. Now we're in a better position to lift to the top of the backswing without getting stuck. Now it enables us to have the right spacing as we come down through impact. But you can't get the right spacing down through impact until you have the right spacing off the ball. And let me tell you this. The fact that I can get up and do this. When you come off the ball, and you come off the ball too rigid, you come off the ball where, you know, it's too rigid here. You see, you come off the ball and you're way too rigid. Hold on just a second. Okay, so you come off way too rigid. So that's way too rigid. See, that's too much angle. So they want you to come off the ball to be way too rigid here, because now what you're doing is you're kind of lifting the weight of the club head. Off the ball, the pressure point has to be up here with your shoulder and your pec, and your bicep has to move across your chest, not into your chest. And it's kind of hard sometimes to see the angles on camera. That's why you have to go join my email list. I got an email list, realgolfsearch.com. I don't know if I can put it on the screen, but you know, whatever. You know, I don't know how YouTube Live does this, but you got to have the pressure points right. Pressure points from the top down. Pressure points on your fingers, pinky and ring on the lead hand, middle and ring finger on the trail hand. Again, that's going to have the pressure on the top half of your club handle. Now the pressure points are going to help you what? Use the weight of the club head. Instead of you trying to what? Instead of you trying to manipulate and have too much angle here as you're lifting the club. We don't want to lift the club head. We want the club head to kind of what? Lead us around. And so a lot of times we get in trouble when we have too much hands going on in the takeaway. And again, that's just mechanics. See, all that can be covered in your pre-shot routine. And so once you do it over and over and over, then you don't have to think about it. And so now it gets into what? It gets into your subconscious. So you can get it done. So as I wrap up this live here, just to get everything going, you got to understand that when you set up over the ball, and I might do this on the next live, when you set up over a ball, the pressure points have to be right. Okay, tension has to be out of your body, and you got to understand how that feels. Because for so long, you've had way too much tension in your swing, too rigid, too tense. And for a lot of you, that's going to be the hardest thing to correct. It's kind of like relax, and let it flow. We learn too much online that tension is not important. And the reason why I say that is because they don't remind you on every video they do that you've got to be relaxed. You've got to have your grip pressures proper. You've got to have the grip pressure. You've got to make sure the club is taken back properly and not the club's not lifted, but it's swung with the club head leading you around the swing plane, not you trying to manipulate it. But when you look at the average golfer, they're too tense and they're lifting the club and they're lifting up and they're getting back here. That means they're trying to manhandle the weight of the club head, when that's not how the golf club works. See, and that's what happens. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next live. Hope people join, but if not, this is a new YouTube channel. Again, Golf Out Loud, and we'll continue to make it happen. All right, talk to you soon.